What is going on? It is Dan and Trey with the Fastest 40 presented by Odyssey Sports, and we are back to wrap up your work week with some Kansas City Chiefs and talking position groups. We're getting into linebackers today. So Trey, I know you're former linebacker yourself. Got to be all geared up to talk about this one here, and it really sheds some light on these guys who are really unsung heroes. Um, that is apparent based on the NFL Top 100 and the fact that so many Chiefs players were snubbed from that list as a whole. What a total joke! No Nick
Yeah.
Bolton. You got to be kidding me. At least put him in the top 90. I mean, golly.
Yep. Missed
um,
some time, man. They got hit for missing some time, but hey, Aaron Rodgers in the 60s.
outlandish, just outlandish. But we'll get into that position group here in a second. First, I want to talk about a special guest the Chiefs had at training camp. I was shocked to see this. I kind of did a double take. I don't know what your opinion was of this, but I on X, on Twitter, scrolling through, and all of a sudden it's Jon Gruden in Chiefs gear, and I'm like, is this guy just running the QB camp? Like, what's going on here? Is this a throw? Is this old footage? What we got going on?
Yeah.
And nope, turns out this is from last week. Jon Gruden out at the Kansas City Chiefs training camp doing a little bit of consulting work, a little bit of light coaching as he's dusting the whistle off from his stint with the Vegas Raiders. You know my opinion on Jon Gruden, man. I think that guy is the most overrated thing to touch the gridiron. But I don't know. What's the benefit of having a guy like Jon Gruden at camp for the Kansas City Chiefs?
Personally, the way I viewed that was that it was more of a hey, Gruden wants to come in, or hey, let's invite Gruden in for a couple days, let him kind of visit, maybe toe tap into kind of maybe dancing around the NFL again. I don't think there's any value to the Chiefs bringing somebody like Gruden in. I think there's a lot more value to somebody like Carolina Panthers, Chicago Bears, teams like that who are not at the top tier one teams, not at the top where we don't need another big name in Kansas City. And really, you could say there's no risk in bringing Gruden in, but really, what's the reward? I don't think there's any value he adds to what we're trying to do. Is he some sort of, does he know football? Yeah. Was he incredibly successful? No. I mean, let's be honest, I just really don't think Gruden's got a place in Kansas City if he's trying to coach again. But then again, like I was trying to say earlier, I don't think Gruden was brought in for that purpose. I think it was more of a, hey, Gruden's coming to town for whatever, blah, blah, blah. He wants to come to practice for a couple days. Or, hey, Gruden's an old buddy. He wants to swing in, see what's going on with Chiefs camp. Let's bring him in, put him in some gear, kind of give some Raiders fans some heebie-jeebies, and he can hang out for a couple days. But I think I quite honestly, man, I think that's the extent of it. I don't think there's any big shocking news that we're going to hear here in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks with Gruden coming into the locker room for good. I think it was just a quick visit.
I mean, I'm with you 100%. Just because of my opinions on Gruden, I mean, the guy was barely a 500 coach. His one Super Bowl was a unit that he did not build himself against a team that he just so happened to coach the year prior. Um, all of those things kind of give him this sheen as this, legendary coach, when in reality you take those seasons out of it and it's just mediocrity. So I don't know that there's a too much for the Chiefs to gain having him in town. Him and Reed, they got to be old buddies. I believe
Yeah.
Gruden was with the Packers back in the day when Andy Reid was out there. So got to just be old friends catching up. And hopefully it's not a potential successor plan that they're putting into effect, because that would drive me nuts. So um, let's move on, man. Let's talk about these linebackers. That's what we're here for, to get into the position groups and really go into what this depth chart looks like. We had we had a departure Willie Gay,
Yeah.
he was holding down the weak side for the last 2, 3 years as a starter, and really brought in some of the hustle plays. I know we talked about it earlier this week. Some of the sacks he generated, some of the pressures he was able to force when we were talking about defensive linemen. Um, that's going to be some production that needs to get replicated and brought back to the fold if we're going to be as successful as we were last year as a defense.
Yeah, I agree, and I'll say a couple points here. One, I'm disappointed in the Chiefs that they couldn't make an offer for $5 million to keep Willie Gay on the team. I think that's an easy sell for me. But two, I think we got better at weak side linebacker Drew Tranquil. I think he's a better all around football player than Willie Gay was. But it's a fall off for the defense when you lose a guy like Willie Gay, where you can have 4 absolute starters on any team rotating within your linebacking core like we had last year, where now, if we want to flex a defense a little bit to, a stack or put somebody in a better position, put somebody down on the line outside of one of our DNs where they play better on the line or something like that in a run position. I think we took a loss there as far as depth at linebacker. But like I said, I think we got better at weak side linebacker. Drew Tranquil's had a phenomenal training camp. He's got to be top 3 for me, and who's gotten better this training camp so far. I think he's had a great training camp, but I think he also brings an energy with him. And what we've seen between him battling the offense, specifically Pacheco on the one-on-ones pass protection, but also the full team slate on the long drive and things like that, where he is continuously challenging guys as if it was February, second week of February, we're playing the Super Bowl, man. I appreciate that about Drew Tranquil. I think he brings a freaking hardcore energy with him. And that's the kind of mentality you got to bring to the linebacker position. So I think that's much needed. And I think he offsets the guys like Leo Chenal and Nick Bolton, who aren't very outspoken. Nick has been a sounded leader on the defense for the last couple of years now. And I think Drew balances what Nick Bolton brings to the game as well. So, outside of talking about Drew Tranquil for 5 minutes here, Leo Chenal gets better every single year. He's just like Karlaftis. I mean, it seems like every single game you watch him play football, you're like, wow. I mean, this guy just continues to get better and better and better, which is incredible to watch, one, as a football fan, but two, it feels great as a Chiefs fan to watch guys like that just continue to get better. Nick Bolton, obviously rough season last year with the injuries, still a phenomenal football player. Would have had well over 100 tackles if he would have played the full season. And so I think when you talk about a guy like that, I mean, he's in the conversation he's a top 5 or 6 middle linebacker in the league right now, if he's healthy, right? So that's the big question mark. And that was kind of the big question mark when we were talking about extensions earlier on this offseason was, can Nick Bolton stay healthy? And you got to stay healthy to be able to get that extension with the Chiefs. They want to see that continuous stride of downs being played, of games being started. So we've already seen Nick Bolton go back to, we'll call it the tent, for training camp already so far this training camp season with a wrist injury. So he battled wrist, he battled hand last year, and then I think he battled an ankle. I think it was an ankle or something, or a foot last year as well.
I believe, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be a big season for Nick Bolton. Obviously a stud, but we need some health out of Nick Bolton for sure.
What's hurting him is that it's the same wrist hand that he injured last year too, that he pretty much had in a club down the stretch of the playoffs. And knowing that health is becoming a question mark for him, traditionally linebackers do not get paid, right? It's one of those position groups that is taking more of the running back, fullback sort of route where it's not this premier position unless you are just a coverage freak. You can blitz your ass off and you can be a Mike at the same time, like Roquan Smith can. right?
Yep.
Unless you have that unique skill set, which Nick Bolton has shown flashes that he can do those things, right? And I'm not here to bash on number 32, but it's one of those things where the Chiefs, if I'm a betting man, they probably opt out of any kind of long-term contract extensions and maybe offer him a 1, maybe 2 year deal
Yeah.
below market value for
Yep.
him.
Yep.
And he's just got to make the most of what he has this year to get the full value of what he's expecting on the market next year, whether it's from Kansas City or another team. But you're absolutely right. We do need him healthy. The Chiefs need him healthy because we don't have the depth that was a luxury last year.
Yeah.
Nick
Right.
Bolton goes down, you can give the green dot to Drew Tranquil, and
Yep.
you still got the weak and the strong side held down with Chenal and Willie Gay. Willie Gay is gone. There's going to have to be someone else that steps up into that depth role. And when you're looking at the depth chart, Cam Jones, Curtis Jacobs, Owen Carney, that's a bunch of randos as far as I'm concerned. Those are guys that are totally unproven
Yep.
that need to really make a name for themselves, whether it's in preseason, getting those reps in, or otherwise. Now, Leo Chenal, 100% that kid has been improving year over year. The guy
Yep.
scaled the bus his rookie year, and then he came back and made one of the key plays in the Super Bowl. So everything that kid's been doing on and off the field, you got to respect the hell out of it, first of all. And secondly, he's going to come out there and be an athletic freak, be everywhere. But he also has had some health issues, right? We got a concussion out of him. There were some back issues his rookie year. Those kinds of things you really don't want to flare up again. And I don't know, when you got guys that you just don't know, they're not proven products out there. Um, it's going to be one of those things that could end up being an Achilles heel if we have an injury for an extended period
Yep.
of time on this defense.
Yep.
Now, with that being said, what the Chiefs have afforded themselves is an opportunity to run a lot of nickel sets with all of the defensive backs that are on the roster. And we'll talk about defensive backs next week, but that gives Drew Tranquil, Nick Bolton, Leo Chenal opportunities to take a few plays off and maintain that health,
Yep.
right? When you're running out there, you just need a mic on the field. That's something that Bolton or Tranquil can do from a nickel set, from a dime set, whatever it looks like for them. Those third down situations, I feel like we're probably going to see more Tranquil than Bolton
Yep.
because Tranquil's bringing more in the coverage game than Bolton is.
Sure.
We're going to see more Chenal because Chenal's a little bit faster than both of those guys. And so I'm curious how much work those guys are getting in the coverage game this offseason. Something that you said about Drew Tranquil, he got burned pretty good from Jared Wiley. Did you see that play?
Yes, I did. I sure did. Yep. Well, yep. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. I mean, there's weaknesses for sure, man. And those one-on-ones, you look at the tight end position across the league, it continues every single year, man. These guys get taller, they get faster, they get stronger, and the linebacker position stays the same. And you got to
They
adapt to
keep
that. We
getting
can't
taller.
have
We just stay the same size.
Livin. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was kind of a moment I was like, man, this is gonna be interesting. So with that being said, I think you kind of tapped into it a little bit with Spags and the way he operates the defense. I think we, very well could see a 4-2-5 defense several times or pretty consistently, especially with Connor being able to flex around and play safety or cornerback and play the outside corner for that matter if you want to flex, somebody else in the inside. So I think there's flexibility there when we know we're playing a team like the Bengals, where they're going to air it
Oh
out
yeah,
against us.
the
There's
Dolphins, a big one. Yep,
yeah,
those kinds of
yeah, yeah,
teams.
yeah. There's flexibility there for sure, and but yeah, I think that's an area we got to get better at linebacker for sure. Is pass coverage.
100%. And the coverage side of things is definitely more important with, where the Chiefs play in the AFC. It's all premier quarterbacks, tons of
Yep.
premier wide receivers, and just about damn near every single one of those units is ending up on the schedule this year, whether it's Buffalo, whether it's Cincinnati, whether it's Baltimore, right? And so there's going to be a lot of challenges for this linebacking group from a coverage standpoint because they're covering some premier tight ends too, right? Mark Andrews, that's the first assignment. That's almost as hard as it
Yeah,
gets.
right. Yeah.
And thank God they're, practicing against Travis Kelce in what I believe is the best tight end unit in the league, top to
Yeah,
bottom.
agreed. Yeah.
But that's going to be one of those things where it's like, yeah, they got to prove themselves early, or else they're going to become a talking point if they end up being an Achilles heel with this defense.
Yep. 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 Comes back to a point that we made earlier this week with the D line, being such a balanced defense where, that D line can take the pressure off, linebackers or D backs or the D backs. If we can get solid man coverage on the outside and kind of run more of a zone where those guys are going to be more successful in a zone coverage, that's going to be able to, create flexibility for Staggs and how he wants to operate that defense. And it's really a win-win or a lose-lose, right? If you lose up front, then you lose on the back end, or if you lose in the back end, you lose up front. And if you win on one, you can win on the backside. So really, you got to take care of each other and make sure you're doing your part and your responsibilities, so that everybody can take care of theirs on the back end, give some flexibility there. So yeah, it's going to be crucial to, I'll say, give a handicap to those guys in the pass game for sure.
Absolutely. I think top to bottom, unfortunately, our linebacking group is not as deep as the other position
Right.
groups on the defense. And so,
Yep.
really the secondary, the defensive line, like you were alluding to, they're going to be able to relieve some of that pressure off those guys. And that's something, Spags is going to scheme it up the right way,
Yep.
right? He's going to take advantage of the strengths of all of those players that he puts out and whatever personnel shows up on the field, and they're going to get the job done and do it well. Traditionally, bend don't break defense is what the Chiefs bring to the table,
Yep.
and I 100% see that being the case this year too. Uh,
Agreed.
Excited to see year 3 for Leo Chenal. Excited to see another year of Drew Tranquil. That was a signing that I was happy it happened. Skeptical on the length of the contract with him being 29-30. Nick Bolton contract year. So definitely a lot in terms of what the future is going to look like beyond this year for that position group. Trey, do you have
Yep.
anything else to add for these linebackers?
No, I do think looking at February, March next year, this will be a group that we're talking about. Hopefully not too in depth throughout the year, but definitely a group we're looking at next offseason to see where we can improve and see where we can stay consistent, man. Definitely something to watch for the training camp and preseason and throughout the season. You're going to want to watch and tune in for the linebackers here.
100%. Next week, we're going to get into the defensive backs and really just start going through some of those preseason moments. Got a preseason game this Saturday, I believe, coming up. So going to be a lot to talk about with the reps that the players are given, who's going out, getting that time right off the bat. That's going to tell you a lot about what the next preseason game is going to look like and so on and so forth. So a lot of things that I'm excited for and gearing up the preseason. But before we wrap it up, quick shout out to our partners at the Atlas Saloon in Excelsior Springs. A lot of cool stuff that they're doing and going to continue to do this NFL season, and I cannot wait to catch a game up there with Keith and Jim and the rest of the gang out there at the Atlas. So appreciate them for being such a great partner. Trey, got anything else for Chiefs Kingdom?
No, sir. Let's go Chiefs.
Peace.